6th, 2023 meeting of the Newtown Township Trails and Greenways Committee. Start off, well, do I have to do the gavel thing now? There you go. Call to order. Let's start with roll call.
Roll call, Anthony DiVincenzo.
Present.
Beth Dungisa is absent. Aaron Cook is present. John Custer is absent. Joe Falcon,
Absent. He's on vacation. Yep.
Suska.
Terry McCarthy, Mark Carr,
Present.
Delia Archer, and Joe Kazuka.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Next, have a moment of silence, please. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance now. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so first off, consider approving the agenda for this particular meeting. Anyone have any comments or questions, or is there a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve.
All right, motion, Mr. Carr, seconded, Cook, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hearing no opposed, motion passes, that's approved. Item number 5 for agenda only items. We don't have anybody in person here. I'm assuming we didn't get any emails ahead of time. So that one's good. No public comment for that. Moving on to 6. So we can't actually do this because we kind of with Beth taking over for the minutes from the last time, she got done very early on them and they were really good, but then they just never got passed on to Steve. So it was just a communication error. So next meeting, we'll have to approve both June's minutes and the minutes from this meeting, just so everybody's aware. Okay. Next item into new business. So discussion and possible action on past and future trail walks. So the most recent one that we had in the month of June, the Meadow Preserve Walk, which was very hot, but very good and really enjoyable. And we did it in, what was the name of the group? Is the Edgemont Connect? Connect Edgemont. We did that. Terry obviously set that up and I was very fortunate to get to go to it. But Terry, if you want to take us through a little bit of what we learned and how it was.
Steve, niece attended.
Yep.
And I guess what did we have? Maybe about 20? It wasn't
I think a little bit more, but not much. It was one of the smaller ones that we've had. It was probably between 20 and 25, maybe at most 26 or something, which was odd because we're so used to having like 60 people at these things. But we kind of knew with the summer,
It's the summer.
people go away, like it's hard to nap down. The heat was actually really rough that day. I brought my little girl and I had an ice pack for her in the baby carrier and a fan. Yeah.
So he was very helpful because there were people who had never come to one before. And some of them were interested in thank you for reminding me. Some of the new attendees were very interested in what is going on to connect the trails. There was a woman there who is actually pretty good friends with the builder Nolan and his family, and wanted to know where that property was and how all this was going to work. So it was of serious benefit to have Steve there.
Yeah.
He was very gracious and answered lots of questions.
Yeah, he was able to give like all the updated points on, not just that specific one, but some of the other trails and how it was going to go, where the boundaries were going to be. And that was very helpful for sure. And then what was the woman that's her name in charge of the Connect Edgemont group again?
Annie Thorne.
Annie.
Annie is also working with us for an upcoming trail walk on the 15th at Okeechobee. I always say it wrong.
Is that how you say it?
Okeechobee. Yeah, I guess that's right.
Yes, I've been saying it wrong.
So, yeah, so it's that walk is at 5:45 in the morning, early birds. And it's remarkable how many people from Connect Edgemont like to do that. So I'm in, and we have about 5 signed up. I put it on the meetup. And as it gets closer, because it is hot,
When is that gonna be again?
Saturday, July 15th
Okay.
at 5:15 a.m., 5:45 a.m. And the reason is because it's a sunrise walk. And the birds are up and everybody's cooking by then, but you'll have an option to walk 1.5 miles or 3 miles. So that'll be nice. But they're very engaging and very supportive, and were there in attendance with us. That was nice.
July 15th, what day of the week is that?
A Saturday morning.
The 5:15.
At 5:45 a.m. At Okeechobee. And you park in that. It's the road.
Right on Route 3?
East, well, there's Delchester.
Delchester.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Delchester, that's it.
Yeah, I think what do they call that? The upper lot or something? Yeah.
Mhm. And the other walk, since I see it says past and future trail walks, is tomorrow, Friday. That's our new sign, and we're fortunate that the township provided us with that, and will provide the tent and the table for tomorrow. I have, the big cooler, and I'll
Mhm.
bring other things and a basket of apples and things like that. But I don't have any actual content in terms of who we are, what we do, in terms of printout to hand out.
Pamphlet types.
We still don't have anything like that. When we had the circle at sundown, Beth was there, she had some stuff. John was there, he had some stuff. He's not here today, and
When they scan that, does it take them to a
Takes them
pamphlet
to-
or the
No.
website?
it takes them to the website.
To the
for
Green-
township and website.
Okay,
So one of the
Just
things
our
we might have to do is find a way to get people to show them how to navigate from the main page on the website to the master plan so they can read it, see the maps and the drawings of like where the actual planned routes are gonna be. Because that might be, I mean, I
It'll be of
can
more
forget how to
value.
navigate sometimes. So I
Yeah,
downloaded the files a while ago and I have it on my own file.
So for tomorrow, I've got a couple maps for you that you could put on the table.
Yeah, thank you.
They can't take them with them, but they're available to show to people. And I'll have to check and see if that goes to the Trails and Greenways page or if it goes to the main page. I would have thought it would have been the Trails and
It
Greenways
goes to
page.
Trails and Greenways? Oh,
Yeah.
that's even better then.
Yeah.
All right, then good.
That's what I
We're
was
going, yeah.
Yeah.
Because as long as they can get to there, they can get to the network plan and that has all the information and we're good. So
Yeah.
that's great news. Okay.
So right after that, which I have to set up at 2:30, we're done at 6. Annie Lieberman from the running place has volunteered to take us on a walk at 6:15 around it's the thing that the beginners running group does behind,
In
that.
St. Albans on Mondays?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go right by my house. Yeah.
No, that's a different one.
Is
You're
that the
on,
different
like,
one?
Horton.
I'm
The-
on,
the one-
yeah.
The beginner running group is a little different from the 3 and 5 mile.
Oh, okay. I see. what
Yeah,
you
so
mean.
you're
Okay.
going in the St. Albans neighborhood, I guess you'd call it, behind the running place.
The lower St. Albans neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're in upper with me. You're on Tyson
Yeah.
too, right? Yeah.
I'm on Goshen.
Yeah, they're on the other side of the creek and Brookside and all that. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
so
Greer
that's
Park.
where we're gonna do 6:15, probably take us, 45 minutes. It's 2.25 miles. And we have some people signed up, and I'd like to have a stand-up thing that says, come walk with us at 6:15. See if anybody comes back and does that. But that's the other reason you asked me, do I have any help to break down the stuff? I'm gonna ask my husband to stop. But I don't know where to put this. I can take that and put it in my car. That's no problem. But the tent and the table, the church would let you put it in there. But I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, I'm personally fine picking it up on Monday if it was going to sit somewhere. I can't speak on behalf of the church to say that it's okay to store it there. I don't know.
What are we storing in?
So I can set up the tent for you and I could set up the table for you, but I don't have anybody available to be there at 6 when it's done to take it back down again.
I mean, I probably can. I mean, and take it and store it. That's fine. I want to come tomorrow. I think it'll be good. I haven't been at the farmer's market in all this year yet, so it'd be nice to go anyways. And yeah,
Could you fit it in your car?
Yeah.
Super.
it's one of those like 10 by 10s. You get a Dick's that it's like this high and yeah,
Exactly.
I have one of them. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
easy. No problem.
What time is the farmer's market?
The farmer's market starts at 3, runs till 6, and then the walk's at 6:15.
Got it.
Yes.
So this is item 7.6 on our agenda, so we'll just call that one that we've already gone through that. But that's good. Thank you. Appreciate
And,
it.
do you have a date for the bike?
Okay, so I am having trouble with our internet or my internet. I don't know what's going on. There was a Doodle account that was open from the Delco Bike Coalition to be able to figure that out and actually get the dates. I don't know if they actually came up with one, but it looks like everybody got it to it. That's what I forwarded on to Aaron to give to everybody. And the other thing was the map of where the bike route was going to go. So-
Yours on here.
Yeah, I couldn't get in.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
one day I tried and it was like spinning and spinning. So it was the day I read the map. I read the map and then I read that. I couldn't get in. But I'm happy to
Do you
look at it
wanna-
now.
Yeah, do you want to look now?
Thank
And
you.
then,
Yeah.
Joe, did you get it by email?
Oops, I'm sorry.
Do you want to just read out the dates?
Okay, so the prospective dates are Saturday, the 9th of September, Sunday, the 10th, so one of the days that weekend. The weekend of Saturday, the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, 23rd and 24th of September. And then Saturday, the 30th of September and October 1st. So by far, the October 1st date has the most no's. I guess, well, actually, that whole weekend, it looks like that last weekend in September that goes in October has the most no's so far. This
Two everyone
Saturday,
agrees on so far. the
Yeah.
9th and 10th.
yeah. So really, everything is so far, everyone that has voted is okay for
you
the
do that
9th
for
to the
10th?
10th.
I can do 9th, 23rd.
Okay.
All right, so the 9th to the 10th is looking like so far the best time that, so Delco Bike Coalition voted on those as being fine. Everybody else from our group, it was going to be involved, so we're going to start here. We're going to have like safety session, going over stuff. We're going to have water station. We're going to have like basically going over the route with everybody. There's going to be an option for kind of shorter rides, which is, what's this neighborhood called again? The Heights?
Yes.
So we're going to start here. We're going to come up and go into the Heights and actually go through there. And that's why I wanted to drive through there this past weekend, because I wanted to see what it was like. And I'm glad I did now that I know the condition of some of the roads.
Yeah, the key is going to probably be to stay on the public roads.
Yes.
And I could share them with you.
Yeah, and I kind of gathered that. So we have the route that I asked to send along as well. So I don't know if everybody's got a chance to look at that, but for some reason I can't access it all of a sudden.
So
here we
if,
go.
if Joe can let us know if he can do the 9th or 10th, then we can, do you want to do another doodle poll that chooses one of those 2 days?
So I don't want to wait any longer.
Okay.
Because the longer this waits, we got to start advertising it within the social media and it would be really nice tomorrow
Amen.
at the farmer's market to be able to say, this is the date, this is when we're doing it. So that's why I really wanted a quorum tonight. So I wanted to see if we could vote on an actual day, get that finalized. Because the longer we wait, like then it's another month
Yeah,
and
okay.
then less
Take a
people have
vote then.
time for it. So the real question is, and one of the people with kids is in here, 2 of the people with kids aren't here, are Saturdays harder in the fall with sports than Sundays?
Yes.
I thought so from my experience growing up, like Saturdays, fall soccer, football is Fridays. But Saturdays, a lot of people go up to Penn State and other areas, go to college games. So
Yeah.
I was thinking Sunday was a better day.
I would vote for Sunday the 10th.
Okay, so motion by me to officially select Sunday, September 10th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Secretary Cook. All those in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay, unanimous, no opposed.
what time are you doing?
You know,
What is it called exactly?
the Newtown Square back to school ride. Or Newtown Township, actually, we should change that. Should technically be Newtown Township, right? Yeah.
Newtown Township back to school
Yep.
ride.
Bike ride.
Bike ride. That's a good point. I guess you should discern that. Some people might show up on Harleys, we don't know.
Mhm.
They identify as bikers in that moment. All right, so we've got, and it looks like George, I think he actually, the gentleman from Delco Bike Coalition rode this route on his bicycle. And he actually avoided some of those spots. So I'll talk to him, make sure that it's finalized and we get that. And then what we'll do is we're gonna do Terry, the social media post.
Mhm.
And when that post goes out, we'll have this GPS roadmap linked in it. Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have time?
We don't have a
Can you
time yet.
Tell me your email address, so I know I have it. KAS,
Senior? SR.
then
okay.
that's what I didn't have.
Kasuska.
KAS. I did at Gmail. Okay, I
Are
did
you
not
getting
have the
emails
dot
I'm
as a.
sending to you? Joe, did you get the emails I sent to you? I forwarded. Okay.
Then I will update the contact list and send it out to everyone. I didn't have dot SR, joe.aseska.sr@gmail.
Okay, so can I just mention that we also have a September 16th walk with Garrett Williamson, that med walk. So for the sign tomorrow, join us at 6:15 today, and then July 15th, and then September 10th, and then September 16th. We don't
Great.
have in August, which is fine.
That's fine, because
Yeah.
I think we discussed this, August is the toughest month to get people, because that's the most month of people on vacation.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
and if it's not a sunrise, people might not go out because of the heat.
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay.
All right, so
I
that's
would-
great.
I would ask if somebody from the committee, I've got, and I can email this to them as well, the temporary event permit. This is just the ability for the police chief, the fire company, the
Yes.
EMS to all sign off on.
Yes,
This is probably the best method to do that. There's some information that's not going to pertain, but it's a good place to kind of put the summary of the project and the route and all those kind of things down. And then that it gets passed around everybody that they sign off on it. So then again, if EMS needs involvement, if the fire company needs involvement, it's
so they did request a small section of having the police involved. And it's literally for the section of 252 between Winding Way and Cayley, literally that little spot there.
how about the crossing of Westchester Pike?
Yeah.
All the way up,
Really, wherever they want to cross.
yeah, isn't that a traffic light? No, you're right, that one isn't. He didn't mention that, but that's a good point. We've got two crossings. Yeah. All right, so we have two crossings of Westchester Pike and that one then. And then the one up on Goshen is not a problem because we're going underneath, I think, right? No, no, we do have to cross. So we have
Yeah.
4 crossings. Why did he only cross or ask the one?
And it's a left onto Goshen, not a right. He has in that. His notes on the left, but he wrote down, it's around 2 miles in.
He wrote down, right.
Okay. All right, so I'll have to follow up with him. on that.
And am I deaf or did you establish a time?
Yeah, for,
No, so we don't know a time yet.
yeah, I don't.
So really, on a Sunday, what is our best bet? Are we talking about a morning ride? Are we gonna lose anybody that has regular church on Sunday by doing that? Do we do an afternoon ride in September, it might not be as bad. So I'm probably saying an afternoon ride. Get everybody all worked up and then they go home to dinner hopefully and
Mhm.
get something to eat. So what are we
1
thinking? What's a good
o'clock?
time?
O'clock too early? Because that's what we historically do, 12:30 or 1 o'clock walks. Yeah, 12:30 is what we've done for the walks on Sundays.
What's the total mileage? It's 9 miles. We're gonna have breaks in there because we're gonna have times where people are gonna peel off. And then we've got a trailer to like, not a trailer, a person following at the end to make sure they're keeping count and know when people are breaking off and picking up. Yeah. I think it's probably gonna be longer. The pace, yeah. Well, because again, we're inviting kids along too in different parts, so yeah. So we're over an hour. All right. Let's say 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock here at the township building, because that way, if there are people that are doing anything earlier in the day, it gives them an opportunity, fuel up. And we can have a safety talk and then go from there. And then Terry, we can tell everybody about it at the farmer's market, hopefully get a few more people interested in it at that point, and then we'll craft a social media post. It'll have, I have to have him change the directions on here to make sure that's right. For the cue sheet. And then we'll fill out that form. Is that form digital or you just hand it?
I'm gonna hand it to you, so
Right.
you've got it, but we can email it to you and it's fillable.
Okay, great. And then we'll have to fill that out, send that out to police chief and all that.
Yeah, if you actually just send it back to either me or Steve Bradley.
Okay.
We'll get it into the hands that it needs to
Alright.
get into.
Will do. And then I think that's it for right now. And then in the subsequent months, we can, figure out if there's any lingering details that we need to come up with as far as if we can get anything to bring along with us, or there's any props or things. I'm gonna talk to Bike Delco again and find out what have they done at other rides or they're, main thing is I want to have a safety discussion with everybody. There's a lot of people that just in general do not know very basic stuff, and we are in a township that doesn't have a lot of sidewalks. And having people on the roads, we want to motivate people to get on the roads with the bikes, but do it safely. So that's the big thing. That's a good question. It probably should be because it's a township sponsored event. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Kids under 12. Under 12, kids are required, Pennsylvania state law, as soon as they hit that, they technically don't need it. I knew that because I didn't want to wear one when I was 12, and it was only when I was much older and I had a very bad accident that I was like, I think I might need a helmet.
What's the mileage on this?
9 miles. 9 miles currently.
I'm putting all this under agenda item 7.4, so we're skipping around a little bit.
No, that's item 7.4 still.
Yeah.
It's all about the bike ride.
Just say, you have it here as the Bike Coalition Park to Park ride. That,
I don't know. I think that's what I initially called it and it just got carried over, but that is the same thing.
okay. So
It's
I'm gonna
because we're
change-
going from township property to another park, like we're trying to hit all the different parks, but
Okay.
that's fine. They like, the Bike Coalition like calling it the back to school ride, and I kind of agree with them.
The kids aren't riding that.
No,
Right.
well, I mean, in theory, it depends. I don't know the skill level of some of the
But
kids.
there
We're
was-
gonna notify everybody that shows up here of like what we're planning on doing. The idea with the kids ride is they would go up into the heights and do that little loop with a tail and then come
Right.
back right to the township building.
Oh.
So we have to have one rider who's either representing the township or representing the Delco Bike Coalition to, I think, keep an eye on just that. And then follow them back here, making sure we're good and having proper head counts. And then we're gonna have people, leaders and then followers and on the main route going the entire 9 miles as well.
So there's 2 bike rides.
It's all gonna be together. We're gonna do it together in the beginning. And then those kids will come back down because you see how we had the loop built in there. It's essentially gonna be that, and then they're just gonna tail off on Lewis, come right back here, and we're gonna go the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
2 routes for the same ride, and they're gonna be shared for the first portion of the section, correct, or, yes, yeah. And again, there might be some kids in there that are good riders and their parents are with them and they want them to come and that's fine. And but that's another reason why we need the police support. Hopefully we got everything. So, if not, if for some reason they say don't have it, I'll see if I can guilt my neighbor into doing it.
It's all right, probably like.
It might not even be that. I don't even think it's 2 miles. I think it's about a mile at most at that
Okay.
point. So. Because we wanted to open it up for everyone from the young kids that have their first Huffy. Do they even still make Huffies? Or am I dating myself? I don't know.
They do.
Or, even then the teenage age or that age when they might actually be pretty good riders and who knows? I don't even know. Do schools have cycling clubs? I don't know. I went to Norristown. They didn't have any of that stuff.
Don't know.
Yeah, all right. So we've got a date, we've got a time. We've got a route, I gotta talk to him about updating the directions on there to make sure that that's at least clear. We will do a social media post that will have this as a link in there so that people know the route. And we'll get everybody excited. We'll talk about it at the event on Friday and sounds good. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Any more questions on 7.4? That little loop? Yeah.
Thank you. Just good to give them the specifics, whatever blurb you put together. I'm just thinking I'm gonna draft up something tonight. I don't have one of those stand-up things, but they do in the library. What time
Stand-up
does
things?
The library close.
An easel?
No,
Which are-
plastic little stand-up thing. Okay, I don't have time to. Borrow. Hey, you got my email about yard shop.
Okay, 7.5, discussion and possible action on the budget request, so. I think everything's due by August, right? So we won't have time. Likely, even though I think our meeting does happen right before. I think it was the middle of August, wasn't it? It was due,
I do think it was the middle of August, yeah.
yeah, so, but we shouldn't assume that, so. We already know that we need the amount for the meetup fee. And how much was that again?
Good. It's 129 every 6 months. It's like 19.99 a month.
Okay. All right, so we need to have that for the year. We need to have any additional signs and banners, which I don't know if we have anything more now that we have that. And we have,
And that cost the township, by the way, a little over $100.
okay,
And that was out
So that's
there
good to
that
know.
we didn't pay.
yeah, but that's good to know. And then the other thing was the trail walks. Do we want to supply certain things for every trail walk, like we talked about, the trash bags? And have like coolers of water and stuff like that, that one of us would then take. So the idea would be we'd meet here. And for our meeting, and then maybe somebody says, yes, I'm definitely gonna be there. Okay, George, you can throw it in someone's car, and that way we'd have it there ready to go. And then. Is there a line item for like petty cash stuff so that at those events you go get ice and crap where you don't know the exact dollar amount? How does that work?
I don't think they use petty cash.
Okay. Only township in the world, no petty.
Yeah, Steve did pretty much eliminate that when he arrived back about 8 years ago.
Not here to defend himself.
I can give you an
right.
estimate, like tomorrow, I'll probably spend $20 to $30 on apples or ice or, whatever something is at each event. So that's.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking if we have just a rough estimate of things for the events, like I'm thinking about some of the things that we should have at every event, thinking about some of those little costs adding up. Probably going to be between 30 and 50 every walk or event. We do about one a month. So I think a decent enough estimate would be to throw that that that's $600 for miscellaneous trail walk items. And then I can list, i.e., ice for the water coolers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's
And then
reasonable.
it changes, obviously, then we can have maybe hot water or something one time for tea or stuff like that
Right.
in the winter months. But point being is, I think that would be a good enough estimate. Does everybody have any comments? What do you think? All right, so.
And he'll set up a method for how to make that work.
Yeah.
I say there's no petty cash. That means there's not like, an envelope of petty cash they give out, but he'll find a way to make the expenses.
All right, so for the year, it's gonna be roughly about 600. I'll just write that in as a lineup. I'll explain it. We'll list the meetup fee. We don't think we need any more for signs and banners at this time. All the other major costs that we're affiliated with are already being dealt with the township, such as your department. Or like, with the pavement of that parking lot up the meadows and things. I don't know if it really isn't. That signs were already done, weren't they, or?
No, I mean, they're not
No?
done. They're not done yet.
All right, so how much was that again, Terry? That,
This was 120, I think, Suzanne.
Yeah.
do we know how many Beth was planning on having done? Was it 3 or 4?
She had 3 sketched out,
Yeah.
but the challenge was really all of the trails need signage on them because there's 2 kinds of signage. There's the educational signage she was talking about,
Sure.
and then there's directional signage. And, as this group recommends directional signage, in addition, we'll get that and install it. I just need a sense as to what you're thinking. Again, you could do a directional sign every 20 feet. You could do it, every 100 feet, every 500 feet. It's kind of what your vision
You're
is.
talking about like trailblazers?
Talking about even like arrows, like say, for example, when you go into the meadow and
Well, that's the one we know is obvious because there's a lot of people that don't know that they can access that. So I mean, but that one's like pretty simplistic relative.
it is,
because
although
it's
you
just
can take
a-
different paths once you get inside. And I think that was some of the idea that maybe
Okay.
there could be some,
Well,
longer.
now
route.
you're leaving township property. That was one of the things Steve Neese was talking about at that walk. Like technically, you're leaving township property, but you are gonna rejoin it.
Those signs are
You're
there.
right, they are.
Yeah.
So then.
But they're temporary signs. And so we do want to put something permanent and proper in. We just wanted to follow your design.
And since we have that walk from Willows to the paper mill, I got lost in there, not on the township, our township, but on the Radnor side, when I was trying to figure out how to do that. I'm guessing it's not gonna be an issue down the pike for us when we do walks, but there is that moment when you cross through Newtown Township, and now that I think we're good there, that would be nice to say, here's a sign that says, welcome to Newtown Township right there. Or you're leaving Newtown Township.
So what I'll do is I'll recommend to Steve how much money I think for trail signage
Okay.
should go in. And then you don't have to worry about it. I'll come up with about how many I think.
And then we at least know how much we have to play with. And then we could prioritize which trails probably need it the most due to safety or confusing stuff and then apply that budget to that. That's
Yeah.
good.
And then next year we'll do some more.
I'm gonna put GS next to that item.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we talked about the few things that we know the cost of, or know what we're probably gonna expect. I don't know if anybody's had any other ideas since the last conversation on, it's kind of hard to tell. The only thing I could think is most of the stuff involved beyond that is like going to particular trail summits or like online trainings we did talk about that briefly. There are some of these small things that pop up where it would be nice to do it. But most of them are like in person. There's that trail summit up in Scranton. That's like the whole state that goes to that. But the costs are kind of like, very, very hard to calculate. What do you do? Like, is that like a situation where you have a per diem travel cost to IRS rates and that kind of stuff? Like, is it done like other government entities? Like, how does that work?
There is a method for travel expenses and hotel expenses and things like that. I know there is, I mean, we don't use it in Public Works, but I know that it exists in
Yeah.
the township structure.
Yeah.
So I can find out what that is and
Mhm.
get it forwarded over to you. And you're right, you should absolutely have some money requested for those kind of things. And especially if you know one or two that you think you might want to have someone go to. we
There was
can
one
budget.
specifically that I thought would be the most applicable for us. There's another one that I heard of that I just can't find the details on. It's in Harrisburg, which is more towards the grant writing stuff. And I just thought it'd be beneficial for either one or some of us, or that's the question, is what's the interest in people going out there to actually learn it is another thing. And figuring out like, this is how you win grants. Even if we're not the ones writing it, then maybe we're not wasting everybody else's time with like ideas about ones that we want to do. And then you guys, when you do, I don't know if you have that grant person yet, but there was conversations about the township bringing on somebody. We don't want to waste that person's time and constantly feel frustrated by banging up our heads up against the wall because we don't know the ins and outs of it.
Right. And again, if you have the concept of what it is you would like to go after, then I think that's money well spent.
So the one is September 17th through the 29th of this year. I would say that we should just maybe unfortunately assume that's out, but good point is that moving forward in the future, maybe that's one that we can get members on this committee every year to go to this thing. One, to participate, see what other people are doing. Two, they talk a lot about the grant writing process there as well. But that's kind of a good one, other than the local one that we do here down in Havertown.
Down in Haverford, yeah.
Yeah, to Haverford, yeah, that we went to the past couple of years. So that one's good, obviously. I would encourage everybody to come to that one in the future as well. And but this would be the one. So it's Scranton. I don't know how long it is. It doesn't give a whole lot of details on like time and itinerary. Yes, there is an agenda. Let's see if I can find out real quick. Google tour Sunday. So it's Sunday and Monday, which is kind of interesting, but it's basically 2 days. So the real question is, what do we think is reasonable? As far as, is there any interest from anyone here to go, first off? Terry?
It sounds like, you're saying the whole state kind of goes.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's more of even a regional one, but it's mostly for the state, correct?
It's September 20th.
September 17th through the 18th, or 17th through the 19th, sorry. So it's actually Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So it's a multi-day event. Now, I don't know, any of you guys in your professional life, you go to like conferences and that kind of stuff. Sometimes there are the days where everybody wants to go that are good, and then other days are not as good. It's hard to tell though. So they have a whole bunch of different things each day. It looks like they've got 6 sessions a day and presentations each day. And then you're up in that area, there's probably going to be trail walks and different things you go on.
Can you send that link to everyone?
Sure. Aaron, do you already have like a list already of like
I
a real
don't.
quick?
I just, I
for
don't have
email?
a
Really?
distribution list,
Yeah,
no,
that's the word, distribution list. All right.
no, I just type in, but,
All right.
um,
I'll send this. This is interesting. Why don't we then? That'll be maybe the last thing. We'll try in between now and our August meeting, when the final budget is due. We'll try and find out what the interest is in people actually going to it. Calculate the numbers and figure out what it would be to actually send people to this each year, and then we can put that in. The budget. And the worst thing you can do is reject it.
Exactly. Or you may say, hey, can we get 5 people to go and they can afford for 2 people to go or something?
Yeah. All right. That's right. Well, it would be nice because like this group technically does cycle members. So maybe that's something where eventually, like, a lot of us have already been to it, but then each year, if we had a budget to have the new person go at that point, would be good. And have them be a part of it. So you'd have like one person that, maybe could go multiple years to like pass the torch on to any new members that come in as it goes forward. But it sounds like this is really good. John originally found it, and I think we all know John's history of knowing about this stuff, so I'm very hopeful for that, but, all right, that was the only item I had to add to the current bullet list there. We already talked about 7.6 regarding the farmer's market, so anyone that can join tomorrow, that'd be great. I'll be there with you, Terry. I don't know if the little one will be there, though. That might mess with her afternoon nap / dinner.
Well, 4 o'clock is when the library does their party, you know, has free time, they're really fun. A lot of kids gather around.
I'm hoping my daughter's asleep. Old business, 8.1, community, okay, so in our ongoing efforts to kind of just continually review the plan, the latest one, the next section is kind of the community background, basically kind of the demographics of the people in the township. Now, this is a couple years old now at this point, 3 years old, but I don't know, George. I mean, I don't know if there's any latest on how many people have moved into Ellis Preserve at that point, because that is a huge change in the population.
Yeah, the only thing that, the only solid numbers are from the 2020 census, which was, after this, and the population was sitting at just about 15,000 people at that point. I don't know that they've actually been tracking it with further movement into Ellis.
Yeah, so this one in 2020 here was actually based off of 2010 census
Mhm.
and prepared estimates for 2017, 2018. So it's good that you're saying the 2019. So essentially, or 2020, sorry, you're saying roughly around 15,000. This was just under 13,000 at the time. We do know that one of the big reasons why this committee was created was people getting stressed out about congestion and issues and all that. So, a 3,000 person growth in just a couple years for the township is a huge percentage. That's a big deal. Realistically, I mean, that's a lot of people. So that's a 25% increase in just 3 years, 2 years. That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, again, the solid numbers were from the 2010 census, although they extrapolate, how
Yep.
far it goes after that. But yeah, it was about 3,000 people in the 10-year period between the two.
Well, the
censuses.
interesting is they projected an 8% increase over a 30-year period. From 2010 to 2040, they only estimated a 8% increase, which outpaces the whole county by double. But then even that, it sounds like we're probably going to beat. So the hope is that a lot of the people coming into the township came here for the same reasons a lot of us either did or want to be here. And at least maybe they take up the banner, unintended, about preserving what we do still have and try to keep that going. So let's see. So the other thing was the median value of the homes, which is dramatically changed because of COVID and everything else. I mean, I don't know how many of you get the little real estate pamphlets where they send it and tell you in your neighborhood, like what things have sold for recently and all that. And it's insane. I just had my house reappraised because I had the roof fixed after a storm. Felt good.
Yeah.
But so the average median was just under 400,000. And obviously that must have dramatically changed. I'm going to guess, but I mean, I can look into it. But then the median income is just under household income, just under 90,000. So I always look at that being interesting, thinking like, good luck affording that price home with that income, it's always kind of interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And, I know Terry, nice neighborhoods like that. There's a lot of older generation people that their house has just kept going up and up in value, and probably like tenfold since they bought it back in the, 60s and 70s and stuff like that. But it's just interesting. It's important to understand it, look at it, and think about who's coming to township. The average age is actually look like it's changing and going younger, getting younger, which it was getting younger back then. And then I know a lot of people are moving in the township that because of how great it is to start families, younger generation like myself, which is good. So So it looks like that was already trending that direction, but I think it's important to think about it and then realize like who our audience is that we're talking to every day. I don't know, does anybody else have anything they want to bring up regarding that?
Sometimes it's hard to reach the people that you really want to have involved in activities or meetings like this. That's my only question is, since you looked at the demographics, what motivates people across those demographics to get involved in a nice organization like this?
So,
Mhm.
well, so there's a lot of people, Americans tend to vote against things more than they do for things. So usually, as horrible as that is to say, is that usually the motivation is people get pissed and they get angry because they see something they don't understand. Like you said, it affects their normal life of what they're used to, and then it changes how they think about things. For somebody like me, it's kids. The whole reason I volunteered for this, when I saw Leonard's post, is because I want to start a family here, and I was frustrated seeing overdevelopment and different things disappearing, how unsafe it is to walk in certain areas, ride your bike. And all I'm thinking about is my kids in the future. I grew up in Narsa, we didn't have any of this. So for me, it's all bonus. But for them, the whole reason I moved here was for them. So I agree, like changing your lifestyle and things you have, and then kids are probably the biggest motivator. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
think that's why the bike ride could be really good, is showing people that do have kids and trying to get as many families there as possible to show them like we're trying really hard to do this, but we need your help to show up to meetings, show up to the planning commission and all that kind of stuff.
Good point. That's why I like us participating in the farmer's market tomorrow. Because people bring their kids and their dogs, and it's just a family walk in and do this thing. And that's why hopefully we'll have some kids at the walk, you know?
I hope
People
so.
pushing them in strollers mostly.
But that's, I mean, I feel like that's the best time, because like my daughter's very young now, and I think more about this stuff now than ever, and I'm worried that my will be beat down over time. I don't know, those of you that have kids probably know a heck of a lot more about that feeling than I do, but it's
I
tough.
think you're tenacious. You will take care of your little girl.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that. I'm just worried about my energy levels.
No more COVID for you.
Oh, yeah, I hope so. I've had it 4 times now. So the only other thing, obviously, I mean, it is a like very white area, obviously, in the demographics. I noticed this because there was another study that came out in Delaware County about the increase of Asian Americans in this county in general. And I remember that from just Wayne, and the amount of new residents, primarily from India, Southeast Asia, was like really going up at the time. So again, like different culture, different family values. Again, like a lot of people like really tight-knit families, tight-knit communities, and it's hard to kind of branch into those and like get them to understand, 'cause especially if they come from other nations, they might not even understand the American governmental system and how it can work for them, or even simple stuff like this at their local community, because a lot of them came from places that don't have this type of deliberation and freedom and all that kind of stuff. So that was one thing I was thinking about as I was reading this in preparation for the meeting. I was like, yeah, like if you can't relate, it's kind of hard. So you almost have to hopefully get people to come. Maybe they come to this one trail event, you engage and talk to them. Maybe they understand a little bit more. No.
That's a really good point, because people of various diverse families go to the library because education is so key. And we don't put any verbiage about us in the library or even on that bulletin board. I bet we could. And we might be able to get something on the bulletin board that scrolls behind the, the circulate.
Just gave me a really good
Yeah,
idea.
so the library runs all that, so you talk to Arlene about it.
Okay.
So you just gave me another really good idea that this is probably going to take a lot of more effort than I'm realizing right off the bat, but what about what, are there any things that the township currently does or any of the other committees like the EAC or Parks and Rec with the school district? Going to elementary schools, any of that stuff, going to the high school? Or anything like that? Did they do any, did they even do that?
It's very limited.
Okay.
I know Park and Rec has reached out and done some things like with the art department. But it's very limited. The school district tends to be isolated a little more from both Marple and Newtown townships. So no, there's not a whole lot of
I think
interaction.
that they would be interested or up for anything like that.
I think you can always reach out to them. I know at one time, Steve Neese and I and a few others had reached out to the school district and met with them once about the idea of collaborating on things, but it didn't really gain much traction.
I mean, I'm just thinking, just if they want to do anything to educate the kids in any way about their local community with, you know, the trails and different stuff like that, it just could be a really good opportunity, because that's a way to break into those other communities of people, because they want to be here for the schools. The kids are in the public school district. If they are, then the kid goes home, says, "Mom, I want to go to this thing." I mean,
So
that might be helpful.
the one group that does interact the best, I would think, is probably the Historic Society.
Okay.
Because they have the annual, I think it's the fourth graders or the sixth graders visit the paper mill house, and each of the public schools and actually each of the private schools go out and do a visit and have a session with them. So there's some method that's there.
All right. Leonard started with the school board, right?
Mhm.
That was like his foray into government.
Yeah, so he did, and Kathy Chandless and Ed Partridge, I think, were all school
Yep.
district.
Okay.
Yeah, so he would know better.
Yeah,
about the
well,
interaction.
Maybe I'll reach out to him and just ask them like, hey, is it worth it? Who's the right contact? Who's the right person?
Or even maybe to advertise the bike,
That would be all, that would be
Right.
perfect. Yep.
just use that as a way,
School,
just,
the school bulletin.
we want to put a bulletin up about the bike ride.
That's a great idea. I love
Then
that.
maybe that could lead to other opportunities.
That's an awesome idea. I agree.
I know that Garrett Williamson has reached out to the school district because of their agricultural education program
Mhm.
to bring classes to the barn, show them the livestock. So we have walks there. Maybe we could combine something with them, and also a walk on maybe one of the days they have the fourth graders. I'll ask Kathy.
I mean, I would consider it a huge win if we had 2 things a year that somehow engage the school district. If it's one of them's Garrett Williamson, joining up with them, and then maybe another one where we're able to either go to elementary school or the middle school or high school, something like that, or find a way to get, like you said, Bull and get them to come to any events. That would
Yeah.
be great.
And again, I mean, there is precedent for it. I mean, there's been overtures of interest. I know Park and Rec did a wonderful job with the mural at Drexel Lodge. And that was with the art teachers at the school district, and they involved their art classes and those kind of things.
That could honestly be a way, also just tying it back to the demographics, is that there is a way to maybe break into some of those communities of people coming from other nations, other cultures. Their kids are growing up American. They're in the schools. That might be a way to actually get them interested and get the families pulled into it and show them why this type of work is important. All right.
When you could maybe go through the PE department too, when it was
Yeah,
bike rides and
exactly.
walks and stuff
Yeah.
like that, you might get more
Yeah.
traction.
That's the idea that you and I are right on with, like, cross-country kids.
Yep. Cross-country team.
Mhm.
No, I agree. We need to link a lot more trails together though, for them to get tired. That's the problem. Our
They
trails are a
want-
little short. We got
So I'd like to make some progress there.
But one of the things that would be good with the back to school ride is it would be nice if we got some parents with some younger kids who are like, I'd be love it if my kid in middle school could ride his bike to school, but I don't know really the safest route. Like, that could be something that Bike Coalition could help out with and stuff like that. So, I used to do it growing up. I don't know how many people do nowadays. I think they all have Uber accounts.
Do you want to get in touch with Leonard? And then if you have any, or do you want me, would you like me to do
Well,
that?
yeah, why don't
Okay.
you reach out to Lauren? Yeah, why
Okay.
not? Let's find out who the right person to talk to is, because, I mean, I like your idea about the school bulletin, putting out the notification for the bike ride. for
We'll
back
find
to
out who
school
the
ride.
contacts are.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Anything else on that or other old business? I mean, we don't have anything else listed, but I don't know if anybody has any particular things they wanted to bring up. No, all right. That being said, public comment, we don't have any. Motion to adjourn. Seconded. All in favor?
Hi.
All right, hearing none. Meeting's adjourned.